Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. 6 albums to go through, let's go through them. We begin in Germany for a band named Bergthorn and their album titled New Land, which I think is German for New Asia Land, or it's something Asia Land. I quite enjoy this one. Solid enough bit of black metal. Surprisingly clean black metal that doesn't drag on like most black metal does, especially for German black metal. Giving it a B, I thought it had some really solid moments to it. I liked the instrumentation quite a bit. I liked the lyrics, even though they're entirely in German. I like the fact that they are actually like sort of about like folklore and things like that, which is not a genre you usually, it's not a thing you usually get in black metal as a rule. You don't really get folklore things, but I thought it was done quite well. Bands come off as quite a cohesive unit. I will say maybe on occasion the pacing can drag a bit, but I think the weirdest thing about this album is the production. It's not terrible, and even though this is the band's first album in 15 years, like they perform quite well. The issue is that the production feels very thin. Like it doesn't really add a whole lot to the sound. It doesn't really know like when to like boost say vocal parts or drum parts or guitar parts. It just feels weirdly mixed and weirdly like bare bones in terms of that mix. But I think the band's like dedication just overcomes that, and the fact that they write about something that you don't really get from the genre often, I quite enjoy. Solid enough bit of black metal. I wish it sounded more like it should have, but fair enough. Next we go to Australia for Delivery and their album Force Majeure. This is their second album, and I like me a good bit of Australian leaning garage punk. I'm giving this one a B+. I thought it had some really solid elements to it. I like the socio-political commentary in the lyrics. I thought that was actually quite good. I think the writing on the album, especially in terms of lyrics, is maybe my favourite thing about it. I really like how that was handled. I will get through one of these episodes without saying I really like how that was handled one day. Today's not that day, though, apparently. I thought the performances were really good. I do wish there was more input from the two female co-lead vocalists, even though they mostly do backing vocals. Like the one male one, the leader of the band, he does a good job, but I wish the two women got to chip in a bit more, because when they did, it led to some of my more preferred songs of the album. Not that like the dude was bad, solid guitar work, really crunchy and punchy. I like the synth work too, solid bass grooves, solid drum grooves too. I really did, I just went through the writing, good cohesion, solid enough riffs. Maybe it can feel like some of the songs outstay the welcome slightly, but it's not a complete deal breaker, and there are some like really catchy moments and some really good formulas here, and production's really good as well. It doesn't really do a lot new for the style, but it does enough for the style and makes it feel like it should, so I will give it credit for that. Next we have the first of two stoner rock leaning bands. We have Dunes and their third album titled Land of the Blind. This was quite good. I liked it. Some really good slow core leaning alt rocky sort of vibes on the stoner rock stuff. I'm giving this one a B+ as well. I thought it had some really solid moments to it. I like the guitar work. I wish I could have picked more on the lyrics, which is a problem I have with the album I'm going to talk about after this one. Maybe there was stuff about relationships, I don't know, but I was really drawn in by the singer's charisma. I think like the band worked together really nicely. Good riffs. I will say maybe the instrumentation might be my favourite thing about it. I do like the production as well, and the pacing's pretty solid. Got a good through line. Not really many does in terms of the pacing. I do wish it could have pushed itself out a bit more, but I think the unique style mix really does make up for that. So, any blemishes that the album has, I feel like it's made up for with something else. Like, the riffs are really, they feel like stoner rock riffs, but they feel like really good stoner rock riffs. I'm not going to complain about that. Yeah, can't really think of any problems I have with the album. I just don't think it quite hits the notes it needs to, but it's got a good song flow, good performances, and decent enough writing, and some solid riff work. So I will give it credit for the things that I'm giving it credit for, and it's good. On the other hand, we have a band named Godzillionaire and their album Diminishing Returns, which I did initially think was their debut, which would have made it a lot more funny, but it's their third album as well. I don't know if June's album is their third album, actually, come to think of it. I'll correct that, it'll be fine. But yeah, I also enjoy this one. I'm also giving this one a B. Now, I found this one interesting because this is the project of a guy named Mark Hennessy, who is a singer from Lawrence, Kansas, if memory serves. He's from Kansas, I know that much. And he was formerly of a band called Paw, P-A-W, Paw. And this is his first project since then. And I thought it had some really good stuff to it. Again, not much I could pick up on In terms of lyrics, there was apparently stuff about relationships and kind of addiction. And I think the cover is supposed to be the lead singer having had some bypass surgery. The only reason I think it might be there is because when I posted the album cover for a review I did, for the review I did of the album, the written one, a friend of mine said that they had the same stitch to get rid of a cancerous tumor that they had, and I'm glad that that friend's still around, honestly. I'm not really talking about the album. It's got some good riffage to it, stoner rock with more of a grunge-ish sort of stuff, even a slightly sludgy bit as well, which I actually think quite works. I think it does add quite a lot to the pacing, which is a little bit slow at times, I will admit. I think this is the longest album of last week as well. It does feel like it takes a while to get to where it needs to go, but it's got enough interesting instrumentation to make up for that. Guitar work is really good. I wish there were more solos. I think the bands work together quite well. Mark Hennessy is a really good vocalist for this particular style. Lyrically, can't really say much about it because, again, couldn't find a whole ton. But I think in terms of production, it was really solid, good enough mix for what it is. And I can't really think of much else I have to go through. Again, I can't really think of much else to say about it, but it is a pretty solid album for what it is. Next, we actually do have a debut, though. It's a band called Some Fear with their self-titled debut album, which also has a song named Some Fear on it, which I found weirdly hilarious. This is a shoegaze-leaning band, though. I'm giving this one a B+. I thought this was some really solid enough shoegaze. I thought it had some really strong writing about... I couldn't find much on lyrics, but maybe just the concepts of fear and maybe of loss. I couldn't really find all ton there. I will say that the performances are pretty solid, and it's got some really good production to it too. My knuckle crack there. Yeah, I actually quite like the mixing. I think it might be my favourite thing on the album. Really nicely, densely focused, but without overtaking anything. It does kind of have that shoegaze production problem of making the instruments maybe a bit too loud over the vocals, but it's not really a massive deal breaker. I think the vocals themselves are still really good. Nice cohesion between the band members as well. For their debut, they've got the chemistry thing down, they've got the writing down as well, and they've got the riffs down too. I do think maybe they needed a bit more time because the album's only about 26.5 minutes, so the short album of last week, I would say. And I do feel like they should have given themselves a bit more time and maybe added a couple more songs because there's only 8 songs. But it feels more like, it does feel more like an EP than an album, and it was listed as an album. I did have to double check. It was still really good for a debut as well, and I would say it's a pretty solid recommend. And finally, we go to England, Chelmsford specifically, for Tigress and their second album, R-U-B-O-R-E-T. The R and U are not spelled out. It's A-R-E, then Y-O-U, but the word board is spelled out and capitalised for some reason. I'm giving this one an A+, though. Probably my favourite album of the year so far. We're only a couple of weeks into January. Well, 3 weeks into January if you want to get pedantic. I thought it was solid enough. I thought this was really bloody good. I like the lyrical themes, first of all. I think they might be my favourite thing about the album. Love the stuff about loss and just struggling through life. There's really good things about self-image. There's really good things about self-confidence and missing people as well. Really, really well handled. The lead singer, Katie Jackson, does a phenomenal job of selling it, and I'm so glad to have an alt-rock sort of sounding singer that's female that doesn't just sound like Hayley Williams like everyone else still tries to sound like. It's nice that Katie has a distinct enough voice from Hayley. Thank the fucking Lord. But I bet you, anyone who hasn't heard of Tigress is probably going to hear one of their songs and just go, is that Hayley Williams? It isn't. Sorry, it pisses me off. It really does. Because people still make that fucking comparison. There's better singers than Hayley. There's better people than Hayley. Where was I? Oh yeah, good lyrics, really good riff work as well. Actually quite understated. I would say it's probably my second favourite thing about the... Well, okay. Second favourite thing might be the performances. There's just amazing chemistry between all the band members here. And for only the second album as well, this is a band that's only been around for a decade by this point, so they're not super long into their tenure, but yeah, really good shit. Tenure, 10 years. Wordplay. But really good shit from the band members in general, Katie Jackson especially. Really good at emoting with her voice, has a really good natural vibrato when she wants to lean into it, but I like that she focuses a bit more on impact in certain places. And the pacing is really good too. I do feel like it loses maybe a tad of its luster after the 6th song on the album, which is my favourite one, is titled Rare. But I do feel like the songs that follow that, the 4 songs that follow it, really do add a bit more to the pacing as well. There's some really solid stuff. It feels more like a victory lap, but it's a really solid victory lap, and Production's really good too. Bolsters the right instruments at the right time. It's nice to hear solid bass and alt rock. Thank you very much to the producer, which I think was the band because this was an independently released album. So because it was self-released, I think it might have been self-produced. I couldn't really find anything on that, but really good instrumentation there as well. We got some solos, nice. Needed a couple more, I think, but still really fucking solid. And also, yeah, really great production as well. Not really many complaints about this one. I don't know if this will be on my year-end list because we're still in January. We've still got like a week left of January. But, solid. Really enjoyed it. Really, really fucking enjoyed it. So, I did have a bit of a think yesterday as to what to replace my rankings thing with, and I think I'm just going to replace it with the albums I'll be reviewing next week, so you know what to look forward to, if you're going to look forward to any of them. So we've got All Black Era with Rave Immortal, The Breathing Method with After Everything Else, Harakiri for the Sky with Scorched Earth, Jazz Emu with Ego Death, Mogwai with The Bad Fire, and Vukovi with My God Has Got a Gun. Now I don't know if any of those are actually going to stick to next week. Some of them could be pushed back a bit, which has happened before. It likely will before the year's out. I don't think it'll happen as early as January, because I think January releases are usually a lot more set in stone, but we'll see. But my favourite album cover for last week is difficult, but I will give it, I think, to Force Majeure by Delivery. I don't know, there's just something about like a nice looking protest thing, and it's nice to see that's an actual picture and not fucking AI. But I will give a favourite song to Rare from Are You Bored by Tigress. Really nicely paced out, and maybe should have closed the album. I feel like it comes a bit too early in the album, but really good song. Bit more of a slow burn pace as well. Love the instrumentation, and Katie's performance and the mix on it is really good too. That'll be it for me though. I'll see you all tomorrow for more PPW vs AVW, and then on Friday for more Turnip Boy robs a bank. So I'll see you all for those things. As always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye bye.